Well, in Thomas Hardy's Darkling Thrush, it's another thrush, and these are brown little hedgerow birds. They look quite ordinary, but here its beautiful song almost brings Thomas Hardy, or the persona, back to a place of hope and inspiration. So, four stanzas, very clear sense of rhythm, and the rhythm's doing different things. I think, let's see, the first stanza establishes the setting, the scene, but also the mood and the tone of the poem. Winter's dregs made desolate. So he's kind of older and weary, and it's late and everyone's tucked at home, but why is he dislocated from the world? He has a strange perspective on the world as well, because to him it looks, when he looks at like the skyline, like the panorama in the distance, to him, I don't know, if you look out on the hills, like just over there by school, what does the ridgeline look like? Well, for him in the distance, the ridgeline looks like the century's corpse out lent. So Thomas Hardy's in a brooding, desolate frame of mind here. And then, boom, there's this explosion of joyous sound, which is the thrush in the third stanza. And there we have this build up of beautiful, vivid imagery, very emotive all of a sudden, and audio, ecstatic sounds. And then at the end there's a reflection. Well, how is it that this bird, this humble bird, this aged thrush, is able to feel so happy in this world? So I think there's an ambiguity at the end, a duality of both admiration and hope, of course, and inspiration, but also maybe just at the end a residual kind of undercurrent of despondency that, the thrush is aware of a level of joy which is beyond the grasp of the poet or the speaker. So if we try and get into this a bit closer, let's look at the first stanza. I leant upon a coppice gate. Or the verb action and the rhythm there give you a sense of a calmness. A coppice is a small clearing in the woods, a small woods, sorry. And so it's a calm and gentle opening. Nothing wrong with that, taking a break on a walk, right? But the fact he leant upon a coppice gate gives you a sense of a sense of weariness that will become apparent later on. And now he observes the frost, which was spectre grey. So this must be deep in winter time. The weakening eye of day, it's late in the afternoon as well. And winter's dregs made desolate. Winter's dregs. So that's the end of winter. Now we've seen how the thrush is often the herald of spring. So it's in this moment of darkness, in the last part of the day, during the winter. It's quite bleak in Britain. Thomas Hardy is from Dorset in the southwest. But, you often you spend a couple of months waking up and then going home from school or work in the darkness. So there's some things there. So he's not just observing the colours of the days. Spectre grey is that spectre means ghostly. So there's a haunting quality with this. And winter's dregs. So dregs are what's left at the end of your coffee cup, or like the froth at the end of at the bottom of a pint glass of beer. There's like the dregs is what's left at the bottom. So it's an unpleasant image. Now here, like the dregs and desolate, these are alliterative sounds that sort of drag down and slow down the rhythm. So there's a few things happening with the rhythm, the diction, as well as the choices of similes that are figurative devices rather, that are helping to create a somber tone that gives you a sense of the mood of the speaker. The tangled bind stems, if I just go up here, right, it's springtime in Hong Kong, so there's lots and lots of leaves on these lovely green trees. But you can imagine in Britain, that tree there, all of the leaves would have fallen off, and for him it would look like tangled vine stems. It looks like broken strings of a lyre. Now, a lyre is a musical instrument. It's often associated. Thomas Hardy would have some, a lyre, like back in the 1800s. A lyre would be used, I suppose, by groups of minstrels that would play live music. So it's a stringed instrument, but it's also one that connotes an ancient world of classical beauty as well. You can imagine lyres being played in the courts of the emperors in Rome and also in ancient Greece. So it's something that can project classical beauty and melody and harmony, but the strings have been cut and snapped. And if you've ever seen a broken guitar string, it curls, and like the steel string like curls. So it's discordant, it's broken and jagged and unpleasant. So then he reflects in the final two lines of the first stanza that all mankind that haunted nigh, that all mankind, other people who were out and walking close by, nigh, had sought their household fires. But the fact that he's got this, you're starting to see a pattern now, aren't you? Because there's spectre grey and haunted. It's like there are apparitions of men that it doesn't really, that they get lost in the mist and the frost, but also you get the sense of his mood. He's disconnected from this human world. And why, when it's so cold and it's so dreary outside, is he walking alone by himself? Everyone else is in front of the fire, being protected and snug, just like in the second part of Stormwind by William Barnes. It's a place, home is a place of refuge, but he's chosen to eschew that. So is he in a contemplative state of mind? Once again, one of our speakers has found himself in nature, looking for meaning, looking for sustenance. In the second stanza, he has this very unusual thought that reveals how unsettled and rather morbid his mindset is. Something's deeply troubling him, because when he looks out, the land's sharp features seem to be the century's corpse outlent. So where the body lies down, like you can imagine, you'd see the head and you'd see the rising of the chest, and then so he's just looking at the silhouette of hills, but it seems to him to be corpse-like. There's an obsession with death. Now, one of the interpretations for this could be Hardy in Dorset. It's a very beautiful place. Yeah, it's very sweet. It's far from the major cities, but the modern world would be arriving fast. Some mechanisation to some degree of agriculture and probably train travel at that stage, and other like mechanised forces are starting to bring a high volume of change that for these nature poets, these philosophical thinkers, these people who are connected with the natural rhythms of the world would have been dizzying and disaffecting. It's a bit like when second generation AI has arrived as well. It gives us a sense of what's happening with modernity, what's happening with technology, and the speed of change is deeply unsettling. Where will all of these machinations lead us? He's deeply worried, and it seems to be reflecting upon that, and he obsesses with this extended metaphor that the century's corpse is surrounded by the cloudy canopy. Now, that could be very beautiful, right? I'm just going to scroll up. So here in springtime, it's lovely blue skies. It would be grey and dreary in Britain. So he's saying that the sky is like a crypt, which is a burial chamber. and now everything. So he begins this kind of obsessive. He's overwhelmed by this sense of depression. Really, the wind is the century's death lament, a sad song that you might sing at someone's funeral. And then he says, well, the ancient pulse of germ and birth. Germ is a seed, and the seed is new life. Springtime is new hope. So winter's dregs, this must have been a long, hard, tough winter. And all of that hope and potentiality for new life is frozen into the hard ground. Every spirit upon earth seemed fervorless as I. So every spirit, every human spirit, or is this a man who sees the spirits in the trees and the plants and the pulses and rhythms of life? But all of a sudden, at once, a voice arose among. Now that's the same pattern, it's the same iambic rhythm of same structure in the lineations rhythm, but of course at once these monosyllabic sounds, as well as the arose has this long extended vowel sound, so we get an uplifting of an explosion of sound and then an uplifting of sound. So all of a sudden there's a change in the pace and the tone. The bleak twigs overhead, in a full-hearted, even song of joy, illimited, unbridled joy. It's the aged thrush. Now this thrush, remember, it's a small brown bird. If you're lucky like Ruth Pitter, you get to look at it really closely. You can see flecks of gold and flecks of silver at the beautiful plumage, but from a distance it looks it's camouflaged to hide in the hedgerows. But its song is beautiful, and even though it's aged and it's frail, it seems weak, it seems gaunt and thin, it is not full fed in February. It's had a tough winter, like him, like all spirits in the land at this moment. It's small, in blast beruffled plume. Okay, in blast, that's sound there, isn't it? And beruffled is a ruffling of the feathers, so you can see maybe its chest is out and it's throwing its throat out in full song. The plume is the plume on the head of the bird, and he'd chosen thus to fling his soul upon the growing gloom. So it's a moment of hope and light and optimism and inspiration in this moment of absolute darkness, upon the growing gloom. So even as the light weakens, the sun descends in the sky, taking with it the traces of heat of the day, there's this beautiful songbird. Now in the fourth stanza, it's like there's a shift back, and Hardy goes back into that sense of sadness, like, because he starts to reflect then back upon himself. So little cause for carolings, carols, hymns sung together with people in a church, joyous. So little cause for carolings of such ecstatic sounds. So ecstasy, it is ecstasy. It's a sublime invocation of the vitality of this beautiful bird that's singing so wonderfully. There's no little cause for this was written on terrestrial things. Now terrestrial things is the terra firma, it's the ground, it's the earth, it's the world around him. But terrestrial also has a religious significance, which is that there is this terrestrial world in which we live, and then there is this heavenly, sublimated world which we can transcend to. And quite often throughout these poems, the contact with nature gives us a sense of awe and wonder. A foreign element that I that I could think there trembled through his happy goodnight air some blessed hope. So at the end, yeah, there is hope. He has been moved. His spirit has been soared. He reflected upon that for a whole stanza. But there's a comma. There's a caesura now. The rhythm is broken up here, crucially, and I think that that brings back a sense of ambiguity and that duality, whereof he knew. So it's like the thrush is aware of some far-off things of meaning and sustenance and redemption or whatever, overcoming. And at the end, rather bereft, and I was unaware. I was unaware. I was? Is he now? Has he been made? Has this moment of revelation been effective? Well, that's up for you to decide.